The Galactic Council convened in their usual chamber, a grand hall suspended above the capital planet's surface. The representatives of the most powerful species in the galaxy sat with smug expressions, each confident in their dominion over the stars. For centuries, they had conquered, assimilated, and subjugated countless civilizations. Any species that showed potential to rival their power was swiftly crushed before they could even dream of resistance. The latest topic on the agenda was humanity, a relatively new species to have ventured into space. They were small, their technology rudimentary, and their influence barely noticeable in galactic affairs. A few scout reports had indicated that humans were expanding, colonizing planets in their star system. But the Council paid little attention to them until recently, when one faction suggested that humanity could be a future threat if left unchecked. The Valorians, a species known for their strategic cunning, dismissed the idea immediately. Humans? A minor species with no significant advancements. They're barely out of their cradle, scoffed the Valorian representative. His words echoed the sentiment of most present. The Corthan leader nodded in agreement. They possess nothing of value. Let them spread like insects. When they reach our borders, we'll swat them away. The Council had heard whispers about human resilience and tenacity. Some members had brought forth reports of human adaptability, their unusual endurance in harsh conditions, and their ability to recover from seemingly devastating losses. Yet these warnings were drowned out by the majority's overconfidence. The Brellan representative, an older member who had seen more battles than most in the room, voiced a different opinion. He had studied the reports carefully and felt uneasy. I've read about their history. Their capacity for survival is remarkable. We shouldn't underestimate their willpower. They may not have the technology, but their drive is unique. The others laughed, dismissing his caution as the paranoia of an old warrior. The Brellan fell silent, knowing that his warnings would go unheard. It was agreed. Humanity would be dealt with, swiftly, cleanly. A single invasion force would be enough to demonstrate the Galactic Council's superiority. They would overwhelm Earth, annex its resources, and absorb the species into their empire, just as they had done with countless others. There would be no negotiations, no warnings. It was a matter of formality now, and soon, Earth would become another footnote in the Galactic Council's long history of conquest. Back on Earth, humanity remained unaware of the impending threat. As far as they knew, they were alone in the galaxy, having only scratched the surface of space exploration. Their most advanced ships were still laughable by galactic standards, and their military forces were equipped with outdated ballistic weapons that would barely dent an alien ship's armor. Yet, what the Council failed to understand was that humanity's strength was not in their technology, but in their adaptability and unyielding will. As preparations for the invasion began, the Council's arrogance showed. They sent only a small task force, a fraction of their vast armada. The fleet commander, a Valorian, boasted that it would take less than a week to conquer the entire planet. These humans, he sneered, will barely know what hit them. The Council eagerly awaited the news of Earth's capitulation. The invasion force departed without ceremony, confident that this would be a swift and effortless victory. There was no need to allocate more resources, they believed. Humanity was no different from the hundreds of species they had already crushed under their heel. But there was something about humanity they couldn't grasp, something that wouldn't become apparent until it was too late. They saw humans as weak, technologically inferior, and scattered. They didn't account for the human spirit, the very thing that had allowed this species to endure millennia of conflict, disaster, and near extinction on their own planet. It was a trait no alien in the council chambers could comprehend, for they had lived in dominance for too long. Their victories had come too easily. They had forgotten what true struggle was. While the council debated petty matters of governance and influence, humanity lived on, resilient in the face of their challenges, unaware of the storm that was approaching. But when that storm arrived, the Council would discover that humans were far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Their overconfidence would soon become their downfall. The alien fleet arrived in Earth's orbit without warning, their ships casting shadows over the major cities below. For the first time, humanity was confronted with undeniable proof of extraterrestrial life, and it came not in the form of peaceful communication, but an invasion. Panic spread quickly, and governments scrambled to respond. Military forces were mobilized, though they knew their weapons would be nothing compared to what the alien invaders possessed. On board the alien command ship, the fleet's commander observed Earth's defenses with a mix of amusement and indifference. The primitive radar systems and missile batteries posed no threat to his ships. He had been briefed on human technology, and it was exactly as backward as the Council had predicted. The humans had no energy shields, no advanced propulsion systems, and their communications were laughably easy to intercept. This would be over quickly. The first wave of the invasion began with surgical strikes against Earth's military bases and communication hubs. Alien drones, sleek and agile, descended through the atmosphere, neutralizing targets with precision. Cities fell into chaos as power grids were taken offline, and transportation networks ground to a halt. The aliens expected a swift and total collapse of human resistance. After all, every other species they had conquered had folded within hours of such an attack. But humanity was different. Despite the overwhelming superiority of the alien technology, the humans fought back. At first, their resistance seemed futile. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky, and ground forces were decimated by energy weapons that vaporized tanks and infantry alike. But then something unexpected happened. The humans didn't retreat. They regrouped. They adapted. On the ground, human soldiers and civilians alike began to organize into guerrilla units. They used the environment to their advantage, fighting in dense urban areas and forests where the alien drones' mobility was limited. What the aliens had assumed would be a quick conquest turned into a series of small, vicious skirmishes. The humans, outgunned and outnumbered, began to use hit-and-run tactics, striking at alien patrols and supply lines before disappearing into the chaos of their own cities. The alien commander was perplexed. No species had ever reacted this way before. Even when faced with overwhelming odds, the humans didn't surrender. Instead, they grew more determined. Reports from the front lines spoke of human soldiers refusing to abandon their posts, even when death was certain. They fought with a ferocity the aliens had never encountered. In one engagement, a group of human infantry held off an entire alien platoon for hours, using nothing more than conventional rifles and explosives. When their position was finally overrun, the aliens discovered that the humans had rigged the entire area with makeshift traps, turning their defeat into a Pyrrhic victory for the invaders. Meanwhile, human scientists and engineers began reverse engineering the wreckage of downed alien drones. Within days, they had figured out how to jam the aliens' communications frequencies and disrupt their drone control systems. The alien commander was forced to adapt, something he hadn't anticipated. For the first time, his fleet began to suffer losses, small at first, but growing with each engagement. Back on the alien homeworld, the Council received reports of these unexpected developments. Some members began to express concern, but the majority remained confident. After all, the humans were still vastly outmatched in every measurable way. The fleet would simply need to recalibrate its strategy. Victory was inevitable. But the cracks were beginning to show. Alien soldiers, who had been told that humans were weak and disorganized, began to experience something they had never felt before: fear. Their encounters with human resistance left them unnerved. The humans didn't fight like other species. They didn't break. Even in the face of certain death, they fought back with an intensity that was almost suicidal. And yet, it wasn't recklessness that drove them. It was something deeper, something the aliens couldn't understand. As the weeks dragged on, the aliens realized they were facing a different kind of war. It wasn't a conventional battle where superior technology would guarantee victory. This was a war of attrition, where the human capacity for endurance became their greatest weapon. The alien commanders tried to tighten their control over occupied areas, but the harder they squeezed, the more resistance they encountered. It was as if every act of oppression only strengthened the humans' resolve. The aliens had another problem. Their forces were not prepared for long-term occupation. They were built for swift, decisive campaigns, not drawn-out conflicts. Supplies began to run low, and morale within the alien ranks started to wane. In contrast, the humans seemed to thrive in adversity. They adapted quickly to the new reality, turning every weakness into a strength. Factories that had once produced civilian goods were now churning out weapons and ammunition. Underground networks smuggled supplies and information across the occupied territories, and human hackers launched cyber attacks on alien infrastructure, causing chaos within their command systems. The alien commander, who had once dismissed the humans as insignificant, now found himself facing an enemy he didn't understand. Every decision he made seemed to backfire. His forces were stretched thin, and for the first time in his career, he was experiencing defeat at the hands of a species he had been taught to view as inferior. He ordered more brutal measures to suppress the human resistance, but even that failed. For every human captured or killed, 2 more seemed to rise in their place. They fought not just for survival, but for something more profound: their home, their families, their freedom. It was a concept alien to the invaders, who had long since lost their own sense of identity in the pursuit of galactic conquest. As the conflict dragged on, the alien commander began to realize the truth: humanity was not like any species they had encountered before. Their capacity for adaptation, their resilience in the face of overwhelming odds, and their refusal to be broken were qualities that no amount of technological superiority could overcome. What had started as a routine invasion had turned into a nightmare. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The alien commander could no longer ignore the rising toll. What was supposed to be a swift and decisive victory had become a nightmare. Alien soldiers who had never known defeat were now facing the unthinkable: constant losses. Human forces, far from surrendering, were growing more effective with each passing day. Their tactics, once viewed as primitive and disorganized, had become a relentless, calculated resistance. The aliens had underestimated not just human resilience but their ability to learn, adapt, and exploit any weakness. Reports from the front lines grew more troubling. Alien patrols were ambushed in the dead of night, their superior technology rendered useless by terrain and human ingenuity. Simple tactics, blending into civilian populations, using abandoned buildings for cover, and setting traps, made the invaders feel like they were walking through a minefield. Every step became dangerous, every mission a potential disaster. Alien soldiers, once fearless, began to hesitate, unsure of where the next attack might come from. The alien fleet's once perfect order was now in chaos. Supply lines were being sabotaged, cutting off vital resources to the troops on the ground. Alien outposts were disappearing overnight, with no trace left behind except smoldering ruins. The humans had begun targeting the aliens' weak points with precision. They went after communications towers, power generators, and even the alien command centers themselves. This wasn't just resistance anymore, it was an all-out war, and the humans were gaining ground. The turning point came when a group of human engineers, using scavenged alien technology, managed to reverse engineer one of the invaders' energy weapons. What had once been a symbol of alien dominance was now in human hands, and they quickly learned how to replicate it. Alien forces, long accustomed to having the upper hand in every battle, were suddenly facing a human army that had begun to level the playing field. This was the moment when fear truly set in for the alien troops. No longer were they dealing with a species that fought with outdated ballistic weapons and conventional tactics. The humans had evolved, and now they were using the very weapons designed to oppress them against their oppressors. Reports of alien soldiers being killed by their own technology circulated, further demoralizing the already shaken troops. The alien commander, once supremely confident in his fleet's invulnerability, was now confronted with the harsh reality that they were losing. He held emergency meetings with his officers, searching for a way to regain control of the situation. But every strategy they proposed fell apart the moment it met human adaptability. The humans weren't fighting by the rules the aliens had grown accustomed to. They didn't surrender when outgunned, didn't flee when cornered, and didn't crumble under pressure. Instead, they became more dangerous, more focused. In desperation, the alien commander ordered his troops to implement scorched earth tactics, hoping to break the humans by destroying their cities and infrastructure. Massive energy blasts leveled entire city blocks, and thousands of lives were lost in an instant. But rather than causing the humans to retreat, these brutal measures only fueled their determination. The survivors, driven by grief and anger, took up arms and joined the resistance in even greater numbers. The human spirit, far from being broken, was now burning brighter than ever. Alien morale hit an all-time low. The psychological warfare employed by the humans had begun to take a toll. In one instance, human hackers managed to broadcast a message directly into the alien fleet's communication systems. The message was simple but devastating. "You are not invincible. You are not safe. Leave our planet, or you will die here." The alien troops, once confident in their superiority, were now questioning their very survival. Whispers of retreat spread through the ranks. Human snipers, hidden in the dense forests and ruins of Earth's cities, picked off alien commanders one by one. These targeted assassinations crippled the alien leadership on the ground, leaving the remaining forces in disarray. The humans, once the hunted, had become the hunters. Alien soldiers now feared every shadow, every moment of silence, knowing that death could come from anywhere. The humans' use of asymmetric warfare and psychological tactics began to wear down even the most disciplined alien units. Alien officers who had once dismissed humanity as primitive were now pleading for reinforcements and evacuation. But the Galactic Council, still blinded by their arrogance, refused to acknowledge the scale of the problem. They believed the humans would eventually break if enough pressure was applied. They couldn't have been more wrong. In reality, it was the alien forces that were beginning to collapse. Without consistent reinforcements, and with their supply lines crippled by human sabotage, the alien troops found themselves running out of food, energy, and ammunition. Their advanced technology, once their greatest strength, became their greatest weakness. The humans, resourceful as ever, had learned how to neutralize the energy weapons and even turn them against the invaders. The alien fleet orbiting Earth was now under constant threat from human sabotage missions. Spaceports that had once been bastions of alien control were being infiltrated by human commandos who had learned how to bypass their security systems. Alien ships, once symbols of galactic dominance, were now being hijacked or destroyed in daring human raids. The alien commander, now facing the reality that his invasion was crumbling, ordered a full-scale retreat. But even this decision came too late. Human forces, now armed with alien technology and bolstered by their growing numbers, launched a final offensive. Alien outposts, once thought impenetrable, fell one by one. The humans, who had once been fighting for survival, were now fighting for victory. And they would stop at nothing to drive the invaders from their planet. As the alien ships began to lift off, desperate to escape the catastrophe they had created, they were met with resistance not just from human ground forces but from newly retrofitted human spacecraft. The humans, who had learned and adapted faster than anyone could have predicted, were now pursuing the retreating alien fleet into orbit. The alien commander, once so sure of his superiority, watched in disbelief as his fleet, the pride of the Galactic Council, was torn apart by a species he had once considered insignificant. The humans had done the impossible. They had turned the tide of the war, not through superior technology, but through sheer willpower, ingenuity, and a refusal to be broken. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The alien fleet, battered and broken, limped away from Earth's orbit. What was left of the invasion force was now a shadow of its former strength. The commander, who had once boasted of an easy victory, stared at the reports of losses that were piling up. Thousands of alien soldiers were either dead or missing. Entire platoons had been wiped out, their once superior technology now scattered across the human battlefield like debris. But worse than the physical losses was the undeniable truth: they had failed. Humanity had not only survived the invasion but had turned the tables in a way no one had anticipated. The commander sent urgent messages back to the Galactic Council, seeking reinforcements, a strategy, anything that could stop the humans. But the response from the Council was slow, cautious, and dismissive. They still clung to the belief that humanity could be defeated with the right show of force. They didn't understand what was happening on the ground, and by the time they did, it would be too late. Human forces, now more organized and better equipped than ever, didn't waste time celebrating. They knew the war wasn't over, but they also knew they had gained the upper hand. With the knowledge they had gained from alien technology, human scientists and engineers were rapidly closing the gap. What had once been an insurmountable technological divide was shrinking by the day. Human-built weapons, enhanced with reverse-engineered alien tech, were now rolling off assembly lines, ready for deployment. The final assault on the retreating alien forces was relentless. Humans, who had once been fighting for their survival, were now chasing down their enemy with an unstoppable ferocity. The once proud alien ships, now riddled with damage and unable to coordinate, found themselves outmaneuvered by human pilots who had learned quickly from their mistakes. The alien fleet, which had once filled the skies with a show of dominance, was now being systematically hunted down. One by one, the remaining alien ships fell. Human forces, emboldened by their newfound strength, launched coordinated strikes on the fleet's weakest points, dismantling their defenses with surgical precision. The alien commander watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. He had never faced an enemy like this, a species that grew stronger under pressure, that learned from every engagement, and that refused to stop even when victory seemed certain. In a final, desperate move, the alien commander ordered what was left of his fleet to retreat beyond Earth's orbit, hoping to regroup and salvage what he could. But humanity wasn't interested in letting them go. The humans had learned that leaving their enemies alive only invited future attacks, and they weren't about to make that mistake again. They launched pursuit ships, modified with alien propulsion systems, and began targeting the retreating vessels. The aliens, no longer able to rely on their superior speed or technology, found themselves trapped. The Galactic Council, finally realizing the gravity of the situation, tried to intervene. Messages were sent to the human leadership, offering negotiations, peace, even reparations. But the humans didn't respond. The time for talk was over. What the Council had failed to understand was that they had ignited something in humanity that couldn't be undone. The humans weren't just defending themselves anymore. They were ensuring that nothing like this would ever happen again. The Council's arrogance had sealed their fate. As the last of the alien ships were destroyed, the surviving commanders sent frantic distress calls back to the Council. But there was no help coming. The Council, once so sure of their invincibility, had been brought to their knees by a species they had written off as insignificant. The humans had done what no other species had, defeated the might of the Galactic Council and its fleets. Back on Earth, the atmosphere was one of grim determination. The humans knew that the defeat of the alien fleet was not the end of their struggle. They had learned a hard lesson about the galaxy, that it was not a place of peaceful coexistence, but of constant threats. If the Council could attack once, others might follow. Humanity had no choice but to prepare for the future. What the Council and the rest of the galaxy didn't realize yet was that humanity had changed. They were no longer the isolated, naive species that had only just begun to explore the stars. The invasion had forged something new, a united, focused human race with a singular goal: to protect their home, to expand their influence, and to ensure that no other species would ever dare threaten them again. The Galactic Council, now aware of the disaster that had unfolded, scrambled to cover their tracks. Diplomatic envoys were sent out, trying to paint the invasion as a mistake, a rogue action by an overzealous commander. But the humans weren't interested in their excuses. They had seen the true face of the galaxy, and they knew there could be no turning back. The Council's time was over. Across the galaxy, other species began to take notice. News of the humans' victory spread quickly, and with it, a new understanding emerged: humanity was not to be trifled with. They had taken on the might of the Galactic Council and emerged victorious. If they could defeat the Council, they could defeat anyone. Humanity, once seen as a minor player, was now a force to be reckoned with. They had proven themselves in the harshest way possible, not just as survivors but as predators. The rest of the galaxy watched in silence, wondering what would come next. Some feared that humanity would seek revenge, while others speculated that they would turn their attention to expansion. But for now, humanity remained focused on their home, on rebuilding, and on making sure that they would never be caught off guard again. The humans had learned their lessons well, and they had no intention of forgetting them. The galaxy would never see them the same way again. The alien commander, now a fugitive, realized that everything had changed. He had underestimated the humans, just as the Council had, and now he would pay the price. As he fled into the unknown regions of space, he knew that the galaxy had just witnessed the rise of a new power. Humanity, once underestimated and overlooked, had become the most feared species in the galaxy. And they had only just begun. The Council would soon learn that there was no going back. The humans were here to stay, and their message was clear: those who underestimated them would not live to regret it. The galaxy, once dominated by the Council's arrogance, now trembled at the thought of what humanity would do next. The humans, the Council had learned too late, were the galaxy's apex predators.